All right. Well, we are 2 minutes past. We can go ahead and jump in with our 3 truths and a myth. All right. So please select the local SEO myth. For winning at an LLM optimization strategy, you should focus on quality over gaming the system. It's not just about keywords. Content needs to address the full user intent behind a query. FAQs are recommended. Second recommendation is build authority and trustworthiness. Contributing factors include positive reviews, awards, accreditation, mentions within like best of articles, industry specific lists, things like that. Third recommendation, publish LLMs.txt files. It provides LLMs with the most valuable information about your website, improves the accuracy and relevance of AI interactions with that content. Include local business schema. Schema provides search engines and LLMs alike with rich structured data that clarifies the meaning and relationships within their content. Name the myth. Cool. We'll give them, yeah, this is where I wish I had music. Either from our SOCi team playlist or the one of our Taylor Swift ranking playlists. Kelly and I had a lot of crossovers. All right, I think we can take the poll down. Cool. And the results, look at that. Right, 74% of you believe that the myth is the LLMs.txt files. I guess we'll find out. In the meantime, my name, for those of you who are new here, is Casey McBride. I am SOCi's Director of Strategic Consulting, which means I have the pleasure of managing a team of subject matter experts, 2 of which being Mike Snow and Kelly Satino. I'll let them introduce themselves.
I think you did a great job of that. I don't know what else to say, but yes, the SEO, I'm the SEO enablement manager here at SOCi. Been here for a long time, working with Casey, working with Kelly, and we're just always happy and honored to have you all join us every month and listen to us talk about this stuff.
Oh, I just saw, did we get the chat turned on, marketing team?
Yeah,
Yes.
I was.
Good.
Sorry,
Okay.
I was just messaging here on the side.
Yes.
Good. Yeah, chat's usually pretty active, so we definitely want to have that. Okay, cool. Sorry, Kelly, go ahead and introduce yourself.
No, you're good. I was distracted trying to make sure that the chat on. I was wondering why we didn't get any Taylor Swift chats, so that makes sense maybe why we didn't. Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Satino. So I am on Casey's team, like she mentioned. I'm a little bit newer to the SEO juices. Last month was my first time being on here, so I'm excited to be a part of it and really marry social and SEO even further now moving forward. So really excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you as part of this. So let's get to our answer. I know some people are asking what the answer is. So the myth is...
The myth is, you all guessed it. Good job. Publishing LLMs.txt files. Now, this is, it makes me a little nervous, even when Mike and I were talking about this, because I feel like some in the industry may slightly disagree with us, but when John Mueller says it, maybe I'm naive, but I usually trust him. He said, for what it's worth, no AI system currently uses LLMs.txt. So he's not even just speaking from a Google perspective. He said, in general, this is not happening. That may change. They did cover it at the Search Central Live Asia Pacific conference, which is specific to Google. And so that was pretty heavily talked about whether or not, at least we know Google with AI mode and AI overviews is definitely not referencing it. And John Mueller essentially confirming that, yeah, nobody else is really referencing it either. With all of that in mind, it is probably not where you would want to put the most of your energy right now. The other strategies that we talked about and will continue to talk about in this series is really where you should be investing more of your time. So. Cool. So let's get to it. We are jam-packed today with industry news. As always, we take you through kind of the latest and greatest of what's happening across search and social. We'll get into some negative visibility factors. So these are the things that you definitely don't want to do because they will affect your ranking and visibility in search results. We'll get into some factors and tips into improving your social media engagements and really pumping things up in that channel. Close it out with some checkbox optimizations and then some cool things that we are noticing out and about in the wild. So without further ado. Oh, wait, just kidding. Before we get into industry updates, as always, if you are a current SOCi customer, you can access today's recording as well as any other recording that we have in the library in the SOCi University dashboard. If you are not a customer, welcome. We're super happy to have you here joining our webinar series. To view any prior SEO Juice recordings or just make sure that you have this on your calendar for next time, your QR code is on the other side of Darth Vader. So.
And for those who might be customers, but you have franchisees, you have managers and others who don't have access to SoCiU and you want them to still be able to watch these things, you can send them to the non-customer version of that to see these recordings as well. So, all right. Moving in. Starting off with industry news. I'm going to kick this one off with, we were talking about ranking factors, what is important for LLMs. This I found fascinating and nearly impossible to fit on a single slide. I think I could, there's a really great study that was released that revealed Perplexity's ranking factors. So for those who don't know, I hadn't really used Perplexity much, just mostly ChatGPT and Gemini. Perplexity is just another LLM out there. And someone looked at a browser level interactions with Perplexity's infrastructure. I don't know what that means. I'm not that technical, but basically uncovered a host of ranking signals and patterns. Highly recommend after this, when we post this, we'll have the link to this as well and take a look at it. There's a lot of really detailed information. But really at a high level, what it shows is that things like content helpfulness and semantic relevance are still key. Basically said to focus on quality over gaming, like we said in the beginning. It's not just about keyword content. FAQs are really recommended. That's something that we've been talking about, I think, since we started talking about what we see out in the wild back in March or April. So it's great to see that validation out there, that it's not just a little bit that we're seeing. Authority and trustworthiness, still really important. It's not just a Google thing. Of course, other LLMs and looking for the best answer are going to want to look at reviews out there, awards, accreditation, best of industry mentions, things like that on reputable websites. What's really interesting about this, when they talk about reputable websites, Perplexity doesn't do this algorithmically, which was really interesting. They have a list that they assign to say, we trust these sites. The guy who did this study published some of them. He even said, I'm holding some of those back because obviously it's his study. He looked at that and spent a lot of time on it. But he did show, like, when it comes to social channels, like, of course, like Facebook and Instagram and X and things like that are considered trustworthy. Maybe there are others that are not, like these up and comers. So just a very interesting thing that they put out there. Lastly, technical page optimization factors like site speed, mobile responsiveness, having structured data, things like local business schema, that still matters. That's the way LLMs are able to put context to those pages. So like those LLMS files are doing essentially what pages are already doing through things like structured data and sitemaps. That's what those are for. They basically show how all those pages interconnect and what those pages are supposed to do. I saw Casey, I think you were gonna.
I was going to say, I haven't talked about schema markup and structured data this much since like 2017. Like this is, it's crazy how repetitive this as a strategy is continuing to get as we talk about how it influences LLMs.
No, definitely. It was one of those things in talking about negative ranking factors. I used to say when the industry wasn't up on this being a ranking factor, I would say, well, it's not a ranking factor because people aren't saying that, but it is definitely a negative if something hits your page and doesn't interpret it correctly. But I did leave it off this because so many people are now saying it is a factor. So I've kind of changed, I think, how we'll present it here, but
yeah,
definitely a lot of talk around it. So really the takeaway here is don't believe the hype, right? We're seeing a lot of many ill-informed SEOs and marketing agencies selling this idea. I think even Yoast like added the ability to publish an LLMS file, which really it's like, okay, great. But like all the top SEOs that we talk about, you know, the folks over at Near Media, the folks up at Sterling Sky, they're pretty much all on the same page around this, that traditional SEO is where it's at right now, at least until we know more. And if we see something else, obviously we're going to want to jump on it.
Heck yeah.
So stay tuned.
All right. This one we've been talking about for a little while now. If you guys are following us on LinkedIn, if you're checking out some of the local memo recordings and posts that we've had, but SOCi, along with a lot of other people in the industry, noticed a drop in search impressions starting June 24th and extending through July 16th. We did confirm directly with Google that that missing data is due to a bug on their end. They fully acknowledged it. They did revise and confirm that they fixed it on the 16th. But Google did tell us that kind of the quote unquote last step is to backfill that data. They did not give us an indication on when that will occur, but that they do plan to do so. So if you are noticing your search impressions have a pretty significant fall off at the end of June, beginning of July, do not panic. Google still needs to refill that data. So it did seem to only affect search impressions, by the way. Map impressions and all of your action metrics were unaffected.
Well, so we'll be keeping an eye on that, and we'll definitely be letting everybody know as soon as we see that data is there again.
100%.
So this was very interesting. I don't know if anyone saw the news this month. Google adjusted their page for tips on how to improve your rank on Google. I think we covered that a bit last month. I actually showed some of the content that's on that page. They refined that page a little bit more. There's actually less information on the page now, if you can believe that. But one of the things they did add there, and I don't know, I hadn't noticed this before, I think I'm almost positive it's new, but within an area where Google says has specific things you can do, things like keeping your hours up to date, which we'll talk about, you know, having products, making sure you're using all your attributes, all those things that can help improve rank, or photos, they say, you know, uploading photos, they've added respond to reviews. And specifically, this is what it says: respond to reviews. When you reply to customer reviews, it shows you value their feedback. Positive reviews and helpful replies can help your business stand out. This doesn't surprise me. One of the reasons I say that is we know Google really wants businesses to interact with their customers. They want to see that interaction. And we even talked last month about a patent that shows that Google does pay attention to customer interaction. So why wouldn't they pay attention to when businesses are responding back? So let's say you have two businesses doing the exact same thing, same rankings or same ratings, same, you know, SEO optimizations. When Google's looking at those two side by side, why wouldn't they reward the one responding to their customers? So this, I think, makes a lot of sense. And the fact that Google is calling it out in between other things we know to be ranking factors is a real signal that you should be responding to all of your reviews and you should be engaging with your customers, and that Google is very likely paying attention to that.
And I want to take it even a slight step further for fear of slight risk in saying this, but we have gotten very firm indications that your review content is going to be considered even more so by Google business listings, potentially even used in FAQ type of content. We know that, and this is something that I can definitely confirm in the public, we know that traditional Google Q&A is planning to be depreciated within the next year or so. And we're getting a lot of signals that Google is really looking to favor this review copy, the reviews that are left and the responses, in place of some of that Q&A content. So nudge, nudge, if you are not currently responding to reviews today, highly, highly, highly recommend that you think about a strategy to do so.
Yeah. And one other thing, which I didn't put down here, and I almost forgot about until you mentioned this, is if Google is relying on what people are saying about your business as what your business is, you'll want to make sure what people are saying is accurate and correct, right? Because if someone is saying, oh, I got this service, and that's not really you, and you don't provide that, that could create a problem where someone is expecting that, right? Or vice versa. So another reason that you should at least be paying attention what they're saying. All right. So last up here, Casey.
Yeah, last up here. So, SOCi's internal traffic data is signaling some pretty big things when it comes to ChatGPT specific traffic. This growth for the like local landing pages, so think like your store business pages, has grown significantly in the past few months. So, since January of 2025, we have seen for ChatGPT as a traffic source increases upwards of 480%. Although the overall percent to total, meaning like where all of your traffic sources are coming from, whether it's SEO or direct, social media, things like that, it is still small. AI is only looking like about 2% of total traffic to local landing. Did I say 0.2, not 2, 0.2%. So still a small fraction, but we are keeping an eye on this rapid growth. And trying to kind of follow and see, are we going to get into the thousands here soon? Right now, the traffic is looking, hovering around like the 400 to the 500 every month, but it is growing very, very rapidly. So hopefully a lot more to come on that, but all of our data suggests that this is pretty big.
Yeah, and it's nice to be able to actually see this traffic now, though. It's great that they've incorporated this kind of reporting in. And like this, it'll be interesting to see if growth speeds with ChatGPT 5. I will say this has nothing to do with SEO, but man, the news around the launch of ChatGPT 5 and how it screwed up people's I guess processes that they had plugged into all the other versions of ChatGPT.
Yeah, we probably should have covered that in industry updates, to be honest with you. The kind of quick rollback of GPT-5, right? Like they almost right away they noticed like, oof, it has some issues, but
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be remediated
Yeah,
fast.
and I think the big problem was they deprecated a lot of other versions of ChatGPT that I know broke a lot of workflows for people. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what goes on there.
How to handle that. Yep.
All right. So one other industry
Yeah,
update.
whatever you said was the last one. I was gonna say, nope, don't forget we have one more social one. So Instagram announced some new features last week. If you do not follow Adam Mosseri on Instagram, I would highly recommend you do so. His handle is right on the screen on the screenshot there. Mosseri is his last name. His title is head of Instagram. So he's obviously extremely involved in the planning of the enhancements and the products and their roadmap. And he's really transparent and he often will post on live or reel whenever there are new features. So last week he announced some of these features that rolled out immediately. So if you are an Instagram user, you might have noticed them. So the first one's repost. It's very similar to TikTok. So you might have noticed that there's people reposting things now in your feed. So you might not follow what they're posting, but it still ends up in your feed because the person who follows reposted it. Another one is friend map. So this one is essentially sharing your location with other people on Instagram. You can opt out of it, which I think most people are doing. But nonetheless, you can zoom out into a friend's map and see if anybody you're friends with does show their visibility. I agree, Casey. It is kind of a weird one. And Instagram has posted a couple of things since then trying to explain their reasoning for it. But
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people talk about this one online. I think first they're trying to closely associate it with like how Snapchat has like the Snap Maps. But I think if you think about like the behaviors of people on Snapchat and the behaviors of people on Instagram, on Snapchat, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's not everybody, but the behaviors tend to be a little more like personal and it's tied to like phone number. Like usually you know the people that you're interacting with on Snapchat. Instagram, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't have that many followers, but I've got plenty that I have no idea who they are. And so privacy is definitely one of the big concerns for a lot of users. My understanding is that you are opted out by default, and the only way to get to the experience is if you opt in. But then I've also seen people online talk about the fact that that's not the case, that there's maybe a bug and that they were opted in. So I don't know. I will be interested to see how Instagram handles this one. And quite frankly, I really don't understand the need for it. I don't get it.
I agree with you. And I think that Snapchat kind of a like comparison you made was spot on as well. Instagram, you follow so many brands and influencers and people. It's not necessarily meant for just your friends, but Instagram constantly is creating these enhancements to try to get back to where it was just your friends. Whereas I feel like maybe they need to just evolve with the understanding that it is a lot of businesses on there. There are, it's not just individual people anymore. So definitely an interesting one. And then the last one is a friends feed. So this actually has been around for a little bit, but it was more hidden. So now you can see the activity that your friends are doing on or performing on different reels. So if you go to look at your reels at the top, you'll see friends and you click on friends and it'll show you different reels that your friends have liked or commented on. And it'll show you which of those friends liked or commented on it. You can turn that off, which I personally did. So it's something that you can turn off. If you do manage an individual page, I would definitely recommend either turning it off or just being really careful about what you're engaging with in your own feed, because people who follow you will see it. So something to just be careful with there. But yeah, some interesting new features. Nothing that I think is super, earth shattering or anything like that. But since they're all live now, I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of it.
Thanks, Kelly.
So next up, we have our first big feature, negative visibility factors. So we're going to talk about some ranking kryptonite today.
Yeah, so we want to run through a couple big things that would negatively impact your visibility in search as more of a kind of like what not to do type of top track, and then why associated with it. So some of the factors are being closed, hours of operation, having a star rating under a 4.0, having a hidden address, having an intrusive interstitial on the local landing page that you are linking to. We'll get into more detail on that one. If you don't have local pages linked at all, or if you remove the local landing page off of your business listing for some reason. And then breaking Google guidelines, which should be obvious, but.
So I know last month we talked a bit about how we're going to be talking about ranking factors, and we figured this was a really good place to start. We're also in presenting the ranking factors. I think we talked about this a little bit last month. We're going to, rather than do a list like so many do, we want to present these as what their relevance and prominence strengths are, right? And really put those ranking factors in some context, essentially. And so we figured the best way to start this is really also talk about those things that just will take that rank away. I think that's really the biggest things when we're talking to folks about things you can do to improve your SEO. Those improvements are kind of small and incremental usually, but these are the things that are large, typically in the opposite direction. They're not incremental. They're usually you can take a big hit from these things. So I want to start off with being closed. This is one that got a lot of news about a year and a half ago. There was a big webinar about this being a new ranking factor. To be honest, at the time, I just assumed it was always a ranking factor. There's a thing I always do when I want to get a specific type of experience that every day, not every day, but most days I'll search tacos. And that comes from Damien, who is our marketing insights director. He's amazing. He's been on this call before, in this meeting before, a few months back. But he always does that. And for some reason, I started doing that. And one of the things I noticed very quickly, if you're doing the same search all the time, depending on the time of day you're doing it, especially with restaurants, you'll see that rank and what is showing up in the local pack is constantly changing. This has always been the case. It makes sense. If you're searching for something on Google, Google assumes you're in active search for something local. So we've seen this for a long time, and Google will derank businesses who are closed in favor of ones that are open, even if they may not be the best answer at all. So this is a really great example right here. I was doing something for an auto parts customer, did a search for wiper blades, and during the day, what you expect would show up: the Pep Boys, the AutoZone, some other local, businesses. But the night before this meeting, I wanted to pull something, and I did a search for wiper blades near me, and a grocery store near me showed up at the top of ranking. And it's because it was open. They don't actually have wiper blades, they have wiper fluid, but they're the only business open. And I will say, when I did a search for wiper blades during the day, they don't rank at all. And they shouldn't. They don't have wiper blades, but it does show that if you're a business during the day when you're closed, you will get deranked. In fact, I was having a conversation with a customer the other day in the travel area, and we did travel agencies near me, and you see the ones up top, 5.0, 4.9, lots of ratings. The third one is this Chick Travel 4.06 reviews, but I noticed they're open 24 hours. And I mentioned just offhandedly that I'm sure after the rest of these are closed, they're going to rank #1. And guess what? They rank
Sure.
#1, just what it is. So what should you do about it? You shouldn't change your hours if you're not available. But you should know when your customers are searching for you, when customers are in discovery. Here's an example here, apartments for rent near me. Most people searching for apartments are searching after work. They're searching in the evenings. So if you're a property management customer or property manager, you may want to have hours later. You may want to have someone on staff or on the call or, ready to take calls later because you're going to show up. You're not going to show up when people are looking if you're closed. So
Yep.
something to think about, and don't extend them if you're not available. Just to put 24 hours because, well, I'll kind of pick up my phone. If someone's calling in the middle of the night and they need something, it's probably urgent, maybe. I mean, in some instances. And you don't, you might lose business altogether if you are the only person showing up. So what if people can get service via, you can list, if they can get service 24 hours, you can list 24 hours. It's
24 hours. Anecdotally too, there's a smoothie shop in my neighborhood that has the most insane hours. Like they are never open when people are looking for them. They close at like 4 p.m. and they don't open until like 11 a.m. And I was in there one time when they were actually open talking to the owner, and she was like, "God, we're having such a hard time ranking on Google, and our business is really struggling." And I'm like, you're not open when people actually want to visit you.
yeah,
So in that situation, I'm like, lady, you gotta fix your open and close hours. I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, there's some of that there too. Be
yeah.
smart about your operating hours.
Yeah. If you're a service business like this, what if people get service 24 hours via your website? I think if people can come to your business, you should split the hours up into hours and then access hour. There's like
Yes.
online hours. There's another set of hours. Those don't necessarily change your ranking all that much. Unfortunately, I've done some testing on that. But at the same time, you want to make sure someone doesn't think they can come into your business. And so that is another thing to think about. If you're a service business where no one is walking in those doors, but you do have the address shown, you probably can put 24 hours, and that's probably not a big deal because they're going to schedule an appointment. And if that's the only way to get that service, then that's probably fine.
Yeah.
So you just want to think about that. You want to think about the logistics, right? You want to get that visibility, but you don't want to lose a customer because their expectations aren't meeting what you're showing, essentially.
And we just received a question too. It says, so will choosing open with no main hours as in appointments only negatively impact the business? Let me know if you agree, Mike, but I would think yes. If you aren't listing
Yeah.
hours. I mean, I think it's fine if you're appointment only,
Yeah.
but I would think that listing the hours that you're open or available is still the better option.
Yeah, you should always, when you're available for call, obviously you have to make an appointment. Your appointment's only, but someone can get in touch with you to make an appointment. So during those times, when you're available to make an appointment, you can list yourself as open, and you should list yourself as open.
Right.
All
All
right.
right. Next one.
So moving to the next one.
Yeah, so we've talked about this one before. This has been a one for a long time, to be honest with you. If you have a star rating under 4.0, there are a lot of experiences on Google where you will not appear. If somebody is searching for best or top or, things that really have that qualifier of star rating, the odds of you showing up are slim to none.
Yeah.
There are also certain filters now where it's going to auto default to a 4.0 rating. It'll auto default to a top rated. It is really, really important if you want to show up for those kind of like high intent, highly rated, really just quality customer type of searches. You really need to get your star rating up above a 4.0 on your business listings. And the best way to do that is responding to all reviews.
And one thing I haven't mentioned yet that I've seen out there in the wild, if you've done, and I don't know if it's just me, but when I've done any sort of food related restaurant searches, I'm getting this like AI assisted version of the SERP that starts with top rated restaurants near me. I don't even have to say top rated. If I'm looking for, lunch near me, it's going to say here are top rated lunch spots near you.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. I don't even have to really put the qualifier. The AI assumption is that I want the top rated, the best, the most, notable restaurants around my area. And yeah, so
Mhm.
gotta get those star ratings up.
Yes, yes, yes. So this is another one that's been around for a while. I think the industry for a long time has kind of sensed that number one, service area businesses aren't treated very well, I don't think, on Google. If you have a service area, Google is still putting a proximity on you, even if your address is hidden. And we've been seeing for some time, and there was a study that Joy Hawkins and the folks over at Sterling Sky published maybe around this time last year, actually, that showed someone who removed their address and added it again. We don't have a lot of case studies on this. Thankfully, people aren't switching back and forth. And so I think those who can show their address are doing that, knowing this, but basically proved that when you hide that address, there is a bit of a deranking going on. Not sure why. I mean, Google says explicitly in their guidelines, if you are a service business who does not have any on-site business, that you can and should hide your address. But it seems to be a little bit at the detriment to ranking. And it's an unfortunate side effect. We don't know why this occurs. I don't think Google's commented on it at all. And again, we'll still say you should hide it. But SEOs, as they see it, is when you're hiding it, this can happen.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like, if you can include your address, even if you are a service area business and you don't really want to, it might help with your overall ranking and visibility. But to Mike's point, it might not be best practice even from just from you and your business standpoint, or you might be running a business out of your home, or we understand the situations where that can't happen, but unfortunately, it helps.
Um, so
Intrusive interstitials. This is one that I think we've covered before as well. So in 2017, Google rolled out the intrusive mobile interstitial penalty, what a mouthful, which places a ranking penalty on interstitials that are present when someone clicks to your web page. What is an interstitial? Those are the pesky, annoying pop-ups that prevent you from actually experiencing the page that you clicked on. They kind of divert the user as soon as they land on their page, and man, are they annoying as users. And too many businesses utilize them for whatever reason. They think they're relatively effective. But they are annoying. And a recent case study showed that businesses who added an interstitial that Google deems as bad actually lost 82% of desktop organic traffic and up to 97% of keywords to their homepage in 1 month. Woof. So definitely something that you guys do not want to do. Google sees it, does not like it, because users see it and do not like it. I don't know anybody that's like, yeah, man, hit me with that giant coupon that takes up the entire experience of the page that I land on. Like, what user wants that?
Now, Google has said things like cookies and age verifications are absolutely fine. Like those need to be there. But yeah, when you can't actually access what's going on, it is a little frustrating. And one thing that we noted, and I think I've talked about previously when we looked at like things that could affect your rankings and prescriptive SEO segments that we've done, is that we saw a lot of several customers who had intrusive SEOs on their, or intrusive SEOs, intrusive interstitials on their
I
local.
consider myself an intrusive SEO. No.
I like that. Saw around when Google rolled out their spam algorithm update last June, we saw several customers that saw a hit to their SEO due to having intrusive interstitials, where the rest of their pages were set up really well, but they took a hit and it was around these. And when they added them back, things normalized a little bit. So, local pages become unlinked. So local pages are obviously a ranking factor. We're going to talk about that when we talk about ranking factors and signals on local pages. But I've found that I found a lot of instances where businesses' local pages become unlinked. It could be an algorithmic thing that Google's doing. Maybe you've changed your local page structure and you have a forward link going on in there, and then Google kind of cleans that up, and all of a sudden you're linking to a 404 page, or maybe it's back to your brand page. Maybe a competitor is making a suggestion, whatever that is. But your local pages are very important for a lot of things. They validate a lot of things on Google. There are new AI features. You can see something here with a property where learn something specific. All that information is coming from local pages. I asked, is there an in-unit washer? And that local page is coming up. So they are a ranking factor, but when they are unlinked, they can become a negative visibility factor. So in one instance, there's a case study that I just kind of uncovered yesterday. I got to dive into it a little more. But one of the things that we found is that there was a customer that was using beauty supply store as a main category. They might not obviously be as obvious a beauty supply store. So it's not like, a Sally's Beauty, like Google's going to know it's beauty because it's in the name. But they have a main category of beauty supply store. Their local pages that they had were unlinked and then taken down completely. And what we saw from that time when they had those pages live to the last few months, they've lost, although their brand traffic for keywords that they're showing up for has remained steady. Their non-branded traffic related to beauty supply stores specifically is down an average of 90% every month. And it's striking. And I'll probably write a study on this. We'll do a case study on this, but it is very striking what happens when you're unlinked.
I personally think local pages are one of the most important ranking factors that you can have on your local business listings. I have seen situations where you make certain updates to your local landing pages, even just simple things like content and internal links, and it has such a significant positive impact on the associated business listing that it's linked to. So do not sleep on your local landing pages.
Yeah, and I always say, like, it's good to do. I always say once a quarter, check to see what attributes are available to your business. Once a quarter, just click on some of your webpage links just to make sure they're still working right. I just come across ones that are delinked all the time.
Mm.
Um,
We're going to hit on these next ones here pretty quick, but breaking Google guidelines you would think it'd be obvious that these would be negative for your business, but misrepresenting your business. Do not provide false addresses and accurate information. Do not create multiple listings for the same business. This does not include sub-listings or department listings. Those are okay as long as they meet certain requirements, but you should not have 10 business listings that you try to flood the market with for a single business. Fake reviews. Google has gotten really, really good at identifying fake reviews. We've talked about this in the past couple webinars, actually. Do not post anything that's fabricated or incentivized. That's a big no-no on Google. Google even will, remove reviews that are coming from somebody that probably has never visited the business. So it's just people trying to flood your business listing. Like, not good, not good. Improper use of business name. Stop it. Stop keyword stuffing your business names or putting marketing taglines in them. It might get you some kind of initial traffic or visibility and you're like, wow, it works. And then guess what? It is not going to last.
I'm wondering how long this Best Brunch Long Beach is going to last. It's not the name of this place. It's a new place, but I'm really curious.
They'll be gone. They'll be gone in a
Yeah.
couple weeks. Penalties for this. So you may see a soft suspension, meaning that you're visible, but you cannot make changes or manage it. Hard suspension, removed from Google Maps and search results. So if this is repeated violation or significant, that will happen. Restrictions on profile features. So they might restrict the ability to receive new reviews. We've seen that happen. Or they would unpublish existing reviews. But you would also, something else you may see is a warning message. So if fake reviews have been removed from the profile, Google may display this.
And I've seen a couple of those start to appear for a few businesses, so they're not messing around with that anymore.
Yeah, don't wind up in Google jail.
Yep. All right.
All right, shifting gears here to social media engagement. So some ranking factors and tips. So starting off with a localized post and the value of hyperlocal content. So if you do not follow Monica Ho on LinkedIn, she's our Chief Marketing Officer. She's fantastic, would definitely recommend doing so. But I took this concept from a study that she did working with a couple of our customers, Rita's and the Human Being. And just looking at these two customers, we were able to see how much better their hyperlocal posts perform compared to their more waterfall content. So the takeaway here would be really to incorporate as much hyperlocal content into your content mix as possible. So I know you can't always do this with the actual imagery. It's sometimes hard to get like that boots on the ground imagery, especially if it's, you know, you have a lot of locations or there's franchises involved. But even if you could just change the text up a little bit so that you have like the city name or the town name in there, if you can post at different times or different days, any way that you can diversify your content amongst a group so it's not all at the same time, the better. But if you can hyperlocal it with unique imagery or copy specific to that location, we see really great results whenever you can do so. So Facebook is limiting the reach of posts that have a link in its caption. So on the screenshot on the right here, this is an alert that a lot of people are seeing on their post within Facebook natively in their insights. Facebook is alerting people that whenever you have a link in your caption, they actually are deprioritizing you. So you're not penalized in the sense that your page is going to be, you know, like you're going to be blocked or something like that, or you're going to be suspended. It's really just your actual reach of that post is not going to be as wide as it would have been. So definitely recommend you peeling back any links in your caption. A workaround that Facebook said that they recommend is to put the link in the first comment. And SOCi actually is launching a new product enhancement in a couple weeks where we're going to allow from the SOCi platform to automatically post the actual post, but also schedule that first comment out too. So that way you can have the link in the first comment and you bypass any type of, I don't know what the word is, but basically you'll have full reach on your post. So definitely would recommend taking a look at your posting and if you have links in the caption and peeling those back or putting them in the first comment.
So we've got,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we got a question in the chat that is, in my opinion, probably a pretty loaded question. We could probably talk about it in a whole SEO juice session, but how can corporate channels post local content? My initial kind of gut to this question is there's kind of a spectrum of ways that this can happen. So a lot of what SOCi has developed and is trying to help with is that almost like automation or kind of scheduling of content from a library that can localize it in a way with like your copy and you know, try to add some unique elements to the imagery. Actually, our social agent is not totally in beta yet, but we have seen some early signs of from the product team of what that experience is going to be like, and it is, we are trying to integrate ways to localize that actual creative. But in my opinion, and I'm sure Kelly, feel free to chime in, you probably feel similarly, the best way to have a local social strategy is to empower your local users, to empower the store managers or owners of groups or locations, franchises, what have you, to really get that hyper local experience and build that like sense of community on their local social channels. We have some brands that do it really, really well, and they have really great like incentivized programs built out where their stores are just really posting really great local content. But yeah, it is kind of hard to do at scale, but it's definitely something that pays off when brands really invest the time and energy in doing so.
Yep, I absolutely agree. Mike, I knew you were going to say something.
You're on
I was
mute.
just going to say, now I understand. I've seen a lot of posts lately, not just on Facebook, but on LinkedIn and other places where people are adding the links in the comments. And it makes sense. Now I get like, okay, this is just industry wide. People are just starting to move in that direction.
And
Yeah.
I've seen chatter on LinkedIn too, where they haven't necessarily confirmed it the way Facebook has, but people on LinkedIn are also kind of suspecting the same. If you have a link in the caption, it doesn't perform as well. And it's really because these networks don't want you to leave their own site. So they're trying to keep you there. They don't really want you to leave. I don't know why the first comment is like a workaround, I guess, because they can't really control it and they figure, you gotta give us something. But yeah, in the actual caption, they are deprioritizing. I saw, oh, okay, Casey, you got the question in the chat. Okay, we move on to the next slide. Impactful engagement. So the same way that we talk about ranking factors on Google, there's also ranking factors on social. So these are the different metrics that these networks want to see come through on your post in order to rank you higher. So on Facebook, whenever you're creating content, think about content you can create that will bring in as many shares and comments as possible, because that's going to signal to Facebook that you have great content and they're going to show you more in the algorithm. Instagram really cares about shares and saves. I'm sorry, my dog has a cone on her head and she's hitting her head, and you probably hear her hitting the cone. So I apologize.
We can't hear her, but I know how distracting that can be.
um, sorry about that. So Instagram cares a lot about shares and saves. So when you're creating content, think about what you can create that will drive those shares and saves. So if you're a coffee shop, you might put, with like syrup, like an R, and then say, share this with your friend whose name begins with an R, like something like that. And you could be, you could think of creative ways to share, tell people to share and save your content. If you're a gym, you might say, save this for a workout later, or share this with your workout buddy. Those are really great ways to drive more engagements. And then it will signal to Instagram that people want to see more of your content. LinkedIn cares a lot about comments and shares. TikTok cares about shares and completion rate. And then X, formerly known as Twitter, they really want to see replies. So really the main takeaway here is shares is the key metric across all these channels that is a very valuable engagement. Shares is way more important than even just like a like is. So again, when you're creating content, just think about how you can create it in a way that will make people want to see it and share it.
Which really ties into what we talked about with our case study with Google and painting with a twist. I think, for those of you who have social teams and might be SEOs on here, knowing this and kind of being able to tie the SEO to the social and what matters, I think is really great. So I love that you put this really simple slide together, Kelly, on what matters for those things to help those teams add more signals to their Google. Sorry,
Yeah.
obviously I have some background stuff going on too. Sorry, I'm a little.
Does your dog have a coat on their head too?
No, I have workers right outside my door. I know you can't hear them, but it's yeah,
distracting for you. I get it. So there's always a question about, does video perform the best? Does stills perform the best? I think you can look at a bunch of different sources and they'll all say different things, because it really depends on your industry, your account, your customers, who's seeing it. Everybody engages with things differently. Some people, they do not scroll social media with sounds. So they like, whenever there's closed captions, they only like to see stills or carousels. Some go on social media just to see videos with sound. So it really just depends on the person. Instagram does give us some insight directly from them on what you should shoot for as far as content type goes to reach a certain goal. So if you want to reach a new audience, you should focus on reels and carousels. If you want to engage your community, you should focus on carousel, single photos, and stories. And if you want to nurture your community, which I know these ones are a little less common, lives and channels are a great way to nurture your community. Okay, last slide on this, hashtags. So hashtags have been around for as long as social's been around. And through recent updates, it's been all but, I guess I say it's been confirmed by many, many studies. I haven't seen anything confirmed by the networks directly, but a lot of studies are finding that hashtags are no longer, hashtags don't contribute to reach anymore, really. Algorithms have evolved a lot since then. And putting in your caption, hashtag Austin Apartments, is really no different than just writing Austin Apartments in there, because the search functionality has become a lot more sophisticated. If for aesthetic purposes, you still want to include hashtags, or if it's like a campaign or something where you want all content under a hashtag, there's no harm in using it. It's not like the link clicks or the URLs on Facebook where it's going to hurt your reach. From what I understand, hashtags won't hurt anything. It's just not necessary is really what the takeaway is. So if you are used to a post and putting 20 hashtags there, I would definitely recommend you peel that back. TikTok has even updated their functionality so you can only have 5 hashtags. So I think all the networks are really trying to get people to peel back from using hashtags as much.
And never use them on Google. Google doesn't care. It
Yes.
doesn't matter. And
Great
it was a
call.
great post by, I think it was Darren Shaw, if you know who that is, who said, what is it? Hashtags in your Google post make you look out of date and kind of stupid. That's his words, but yeah.
All right, we'll hit real quick. I know we are in our final 10 minutes here on some checkbox optimizations. Not a ton of new updates, but just some new categories to be aware of. In auto repair, we now have a category for RV repair and maintenance service. So we're getting a little specific there, which is great. And then on the legal side, probate attorney. So that applies to you. There you go.
No real categories. I couldn't find new attributes. I didn't find anything that was real groundbreaking this month. So we'll move on and end with our caught in the wild. Some interesting things that we discovered. One, if any of you follow me on LinkedIn, you might have seen I posted about this last week. I, for some reason, and it stopped working yesterday, so I'm very disappointed, but I was able, through the mobile emulator that I use, got a view of searches where I got the traditional local pack and the AIO local pack together for a lot of near me searches. This I thought was, as an SEO nerd and data nerd, really fascinating, because it wasn't a lot of the research that's been done so far is 2 very separate searches. One may be done different days, different times, different ways. This is the same time through the same algorithmic reach. I don't know what you would say, but they were both done at the exact same time. So it was really interesting to see all of this next to each other. Unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of time to go into this, but I did do some searches to try and see how often businesses were appearing in both. And what I've seen, I'll probably publish something a little more once I pull all my data together. But what I saw is usually 2 out of 3, about 60 to 70% of the time, the same listings will appear in both. A lot of times it had to do with the area. So areas where there are a lot more competition, there may be less likely that you'd see the same 2 or 3 carrying over. There always seemed to be one. I never saw a 0. The ones that were obviously had more reviews and better star ratings tended to appear more consistently. Those that were closer to others like them tended to fall out a lot more often. Again, I'm going to publish a study on this one, something about it that we'll talk about a little more, but it was just some really interesting insight. I don't know if anyone can still see this out in the wild. Would love to know if you find this, but for me, sadly, it has disappeared and has ended my research into what is going on here. So,
And then we got social caught in the wild too.
yes, and lastly, Kelly.
Yeah, so I think I talked about this last time, but there's a little bit of an update here, so I'll just go through it quickly. You might have noticed that in Instagram Reels, so the first screenshot here, this is just my journey on Reels. I saw this shaken espresso, and then on the second screenshot, that's when I click into the comments, and you can see there's a generated search link at the top. So that is something that Meta AI put there based off what the video had on the text overlay and in the caption. When I clicked on that search query, it brought me to the third screenshot, which is searching within Instagram for that specific copy. But the interesting part, and this is something that's a little bit newer, is that I noticed Instagram is no longer sourcing this information from Google. So before, in that fourth screenshot, instead of having the recipe appear there from Meta AI, it used to bring you out to Google and show you where it came from. it has seemed in the last couple of weeks as this has gotten more advanced, they actually want people to just stay within Instagram, and Meta's AI is just giving you whatever the search might be. So I thought this was kind of interesting. I see this happen if the account has very few followers, very few engagements. It's kind of random that it comes up. It's not all the time. It just kind of randomly comes up. So I think it is still in that testing phase, but wanted to just share it.
Yeah, good find. Now I really want a brown sugar banana espresso. Before we totally close out, I think we have a couple slides. So reimagine, please, please, please join us. All three of us will be there. We're really looking forward to it. It is at the end of Chicago. We have some really awesome speakers, Gary Vee, Lisa Landsman from Google, Kelly Ryan from OpenAI, just to name a few. Would love to have you guys there. And then on the next slide, we actually have a webinar coming up on August 20th to walk through our agent and how it works, responding to reviews, review management. I think we alluded to this a couple times in the conversation. If you are feeling the strain and the pressure in your business on responding to reviews and how do I do it at scale? I don't have a team internally to do it. We got an agent for that can really be configured to meet your brand voice, your brand needs, and meet all of your qualifications for escalations and things like that. So learn more about that, reserve your spot, and catch us at that webinar. Cool. All right. Thank you guys so much. Oh, one last thing I wanted to say. Next month's SEO Juice is likely getting delayed a week or two. Seems a lot of us are going to be traveling or out of the office. So we will make sure that the date for the September SEO Juice is out there as soon as possible.